This is your video for the second part of explanation for how to do the iXLs in Algebra 1 in GG. This is going to cover GG5, GG7, and GG9. GG7 is actually going to be a bonus section, so you don't actually have to work in GG7. But if you can do some of the easier questions in it, it might be a good way to get some bonus points to help you out with offsetting your scores from the other ones. So we are going to start in GG5. And this one deals with dividing polynomials by monomials. So in this one, you can see we have negative 9a cubed minus 9a squared minus 2a, the whole thing divided by a. So I'm going to rewrite the top part, and excuse my terrible handwriting because the board is not cooperating with my writing. So there's negative 9a cubed minus 9a squared minus 2a. And then since I'm dividing by a, I'm going to put an a underneath every single term here. And so what that's going to do, if I have an a cubed on the top and an a on the bottom, this a is going to disappear, and this cubed is going to go down by 1 because that's the exponent on the bottom to a 2. This a is going to disappear, and this exponent is going to go down by 1, so it's going to be a 1. Since in the last fraction, the a on the top is to the first and the a on the bottom is to the first, those are going to disappear completely, and there's going to be no more a with this last term. So my final answer is going to be negative 9a to the second power minus 9a to the first power, so I can just write minus 9a, and then minus 2. And that's all we need to do for that. This one is going to be very similar, but we are, apparently, let's see here. There we go. I have 3j to the 5th power minus 11j to the 4th power plus 8j to the 3rd power. And I'm dividing this one by j squared. Lots of clicks on my end. That's a j squared. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing, except for now we have a 2 as the exponent on the bottom. So whenever I get rid of the bottom, I'm taking 2 away. So if I take 2 away from 5, that puts that now at j to the 3rd power. If I take 2 away from the 4, that's going to be a j to the 2nd power, and that's gone. And this one is going to be a j to the 1st power. Since there's no number in the bottom, I'm not going to be changing the numbers on top. So my final answer would be 3j to the 3rd power minus 11j to the 2nd power, and I guess I wrote the second on the bottom and not at the top there. Oh no, I wrote it correctly. It just jumped around whenever I went back. So minus 11j to the 2nd power and then plus 8j. And that's going to be your final answer for that type of question. This one is, again, very much like our last one, except for we are dividing by f to the 3rd, so I'm going to be subtracting 3 from all of the exponents there on the top. So let's go back now, and we are going to take a look at GG9 this time, GG9, which is evaluating rational expressions. I threw this one in here because I think it's one of the easier ones in this section. Notice it says evaluate the expression for s equals 1. So all you're doing is replacing the letter that it tells with the number that it gives. So this is now going to become 1 minus 8 on the top. On the bottom, it is going to be negative 1 plus 10. Well, 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Negative 1 plus 10 is 9. Negative 7 over 9, that fraction does not reduce at all. So my final answer is going to be -7 divided by 9. And maybe it would help if I actually did math correctly. This is what you get for being off for a little bit, not even paying attention. Because in fact, 1 minus 9 is -8 instead of -9. So I apologize for that situation. Let's try again. Hopefully your teacher won't go a little bit crazy this time. So we have here, we're plugging in -2 everywhere there's an x. These are negative x's. So whenever we look at those, we are going to have a -2, which will end up becoming a +2, +2. On the bottom, you have a -2 minus 10. So this is going to be a +2 plus 2, which is 4. On the bottom, you have a +2 minus 10. Well, 2 minus 10 is going to be -8. Now, you can't put that in as your final answer because 4 over -8 does reduce. Both of those can be divided by 4. So my answer is actually going to be -1/2. Notice that I shifted the negative up to the top instead of leaving it in the bottom. I don't think it really matters where you put it. You can't put it in both places because that does not mean the same thing, but pick one or the other. If you were to type in this first fraction, it would be marked incorrect because it says write it in simplest form, so you have to reduce. So -1 divided by 2, and that's our correct answer. And that works out a lot better. Let's do one more of these just so you guys understand what you need to do. We're plugging in 5 for this one. So we have 5 minus 4 on top. On bottom, we have -5 plus 6. So on top, I have a +1. On bottom, I have a +1. 1 divided by 1 is merely 1. So that's what we have to actually type in for our answer. We would type in a 1. And again, that was correct. The last one we're going to look at is GG7. And as I said, this one is a bonus. I know that we didn't spend as much time on this, and when you get into some of the later ones, these can get kind of difficult. You do need to have like denominators in order to solve these questions. So notice this one, it says express it as a single fraction in simplest form. Both of these already have the same denominator. So my denominator is actually going to be a 2 here. And then on the top, I'm going to have w to the third minus 3. Notice I just put them next to each other. They do have to stay separate, though. You can't make this like a 3w to the third. That's not the same thing. So it's w to the third minus 3. If you do not have the same denominator, you have to make them the same. So that would be like this one. So my common denominator is going to be a 10 PQ. Sorry, I apologize for the ridiculous Q that I have there. The second fraction already is a 10 PQ. So I'm going to put +1 over 10 PQ. So those are already, that's already the same. So you have to look and see what the first fraction is missing. Well, I have a P, but I'm missing a 10. So I have to multiply by 10 on the bottom and on the top. And that 10 will be multiplied by the 4. I have the P, but I'm missing the Q. So I also have to multiply by the Q on the bottom and on the top. So my new top is going to be the 10 times 4, which is 40. And then my Q. Now I can go ahead and put my tops together. The bottom you would just write once. So I put my fraction in the bottom. I'm going to put the 10 PQ. In the top, I have my 40Q and then +1. You can't reduce or do anything with this because there's no factors in the bottom that match the top. And that was your final answer. When you get one like this, where you have to, it's not as simple because you have two different numbers, like one is a 5 and one is a 2. You can always multiply one by the other. So my common denominator here is actually going to be 10. To make the 5 into a 10, I have to multiply by 2. So I have to multiply by 2 on the top. To make the 2 into a 10, I multiply by 5. So I multiply by 5 on the top. So on the top here, I'm going to multiply the 2 and the 7 together, and I get a 14W. And this is a minus. The top of this one, I multiply the 5 by the WX. So that's going to be 5WX. And then I'm just going to put those together. So I click down here, I get my fraction. I'm going to put the 10 in the bottom. On the top, 14W minus 5WX. There's nothing I can reduce, nothing else I can do with that. So that gets me some points. So you can see, even with this being a bonus section, if you can do a couple of the questions, then that can get you some of the extra points. Make sure you go back. Remember, there are Khan Academy videos in Schoology that link to these different topics. You can go back to the weeks in March whenever we were working in these sections, and reach out to me if you have any questions at all.